So Avengers Endgame is now out and I hope you've all had a chance to see it. If not, do not watch this video because it is full of spoilers. This is just all the stuff that I loved in Endgame that I couldn't talk about in the spoiler-free video, so let's get into some spoilers. So the film starts out and we see Hawkeye and his family on the farm, and right away you're like, oh shit. Hawkeye's training his daughter to shoot a ball, he turns to his family to talk about hot dogs, and then he turns around, his daughter's nowhere to be seen. He's like, wait, what's going on? Then he turns to his family, they're nowhere to be seen. You see a little bit of dust falling to the ground, and just right there in the first 3 minutes of the film, you know you're in for an emotional ride. Then we see Tony and Nebula trapped in space. Captain Marvel comes along, rescues them, takes them back to Earth. We get a reunion between Tony and Cap. Tony's all distraught because they lost the fight against Thanos. He lost Peter Parker, and it's a really well acted scene by Robert Downey Jr. especially. And it's a point that I forgot to make in my spoiler-free video. This is a really well acted film pretty much across the board, and I feel like that great performances in more spectacle driven superhero films are kind of overlooked, because in films like Logan, which are smaller scale, you can kind of appreciate the films more because there isn't a lot of CGI and big action stuff going on. But with films like this that do have more CGI stuff in it and more spectacle, I feel like some people sometimes don't appreciate the performances on display. And in Endgame, it's not just Robert Downey Jr., it's across the board. Everyone was amazing. Scarlett Johansson was another strong performance in the film as well. In certain scenes, that one scene with Captain America just after the 5-year time jump, and the scene on Vormir, which I'll get to in a little bit soon. It's just everyone did a really great job acting in the film, and I think, again, acting in some spectacle superhero films should be given a little bit more praise sometimes. But then the Avengers find out where Thanos is. They go to his planet, they go to his farm, they confront him, and he finds out that he destroyed all the Infinity Stones, so nobody can undo his stuff. Then Thor just decapitates him, and I'm like, whoa, Thanos is dead. First 5 minutes of the film, okay then. And then it cuts ahead 5 years into the future, which I wasn't expecting the film to do that. I just wasn't expecting a big time jump, but here we are 5 years later. Everyone's trying to live in the post-snap world. Captain America's struggling to deal with it. Black Widow struggling to adjust as well. Thor's become a fat, lazy slob who doesn't really care about his people anymore. He's playing Fortnite with Korg. Awesome scene, by the way. Hey Thor, this guy just called me a dickhead. Hilarious. Bruce Banner got it pretty good though, because now he's Hulk and he's like in constant Hulk form, but with Bruce Banner's knowledge and speech, so it's kind of like, I think it's called Professor Hulk from the comics. I saw people say, what if it's going to be Professor Hulk? So you got Professor Hulk now. But then comes the beacon of hope, because Scott Lang gets out of the quantum realm. For him it's been 5 hours, but it's been 5 years, so he goes to Captain America and Black Widow, and he's like, hey, time travel, let's do it, go get the Infinity Stone. So they go to Tony Stark. He's like, no, we're not having any of that, because he's with Pepper Potts, he's got a kid now, Morgan. But with Tony Stark being Tony Stark, he eventually comes round, he figures out how to time travel through the quantum realm, so he's like, okay, let's go do it. And that's the plot of the film right there. They're going to go back in time through the quantum realm, get the Infinity Stones, bring them back to the present day, and re-snap everybody back that Thanos disintegrated. And this is what I meant in my spoiler-free video in saying that this film is a celebration of the MCU, because they go back in time and revisit events from the previous MCU films. Bruce Banner, Tony Stark, Captain America, and Ant-Man go back to the Battle of New York in 2012 to collect the Time Stone, the Tesseract, and the Mind Stone. Thor and Rocket Raccoon go to Asgard in 2013 during the events of Thor the Dark World to get the Reality Stone from Jane Foster. And then War Machine, Nebula, Black Widow, and Hawkeye go to 2014. War Machine and Nebula to get the Power Stone from Morag before Star-Lord can at the beginning of the first Guardians of the Galaxy film, and Black Widow and Hawkeye go to Vormir to get the Soul Stone. And just like everybody else who's seen this film, it reminded me of Back to the Future 2, where they're revisiting events from the past films and they're trying to avoid their past selves. I'm a sucker for that stuff in franchise films, especially established franchise films. I just love revisiting past events, and they did it really well in this film. It's really exciting, and again, like in my spoiler-free video, I said it was really exciting without being action-packed. I was talking about those sequences, especially the Battle of New York stuff, where Tony's trying to avoid the 2012 Avengers 1 Tony. And this is where the film's surprise cameo started, because Bruce Banner goes to the New York Sanctum and he finds the Ancient One, Tilda Swinton. I was like, oh my god, Tilda Swinton, it's awesome to see you again. And back at the Avengers 1 Tower, Alexander Pierce from Winter Soldier shows up, and that was the surprise cameo of the film for me, because Robert Redford retired a while ago, so I just didn't even think of him being in this film as a cameo as a possibility. So when he showed up, I was like, my jaw actually did drop at that part. Again, surprise cameo of the film for me. And I love the part where present day Cap has Loki's scepter and he runs into his previous self from Avengers 1, and it's Cap versus Cap in a fight. That was really entertaining. Plus Cap 1 thinks the other Cap is Loki in disguise, because Loki escapes with the Tesseract during that big struggle with Alexander Pierce and the other S.H.I.E.L.D. guys. And that scene as well when Cap gets into the elevator with Brock Rumlaw and that Jasper Sitwell guy, because they're taking Loki's scepter. A really great callback to the same kind of camera layout and aesthetic as the elevator scene. I was expecting it to be a recreation of that scene, but he was like, "Hail Hydra," and he's like pretending to be on their side to take the scepter. Really amazing stuff. And that's what I mean. Celebration of the MCU, calling back to all these moments and referencing these moments. It's fan service done in the best damn possible way. It serves the story of the film as a culmination film in general, and just as a film in general, but just celebrating the past MCU, taking us through that ride of revisiting all those moments and all those characters. It just makes it the best damn culmination you could have thought of for the MCU up until this point. I just loved all that stuff. I just ate it all up. Meanwhile, Thor and Rocket are on Asgard. They'd get the Reality Stone from Jane Foster, another surprise cameo. She's only in there for a few seconds and she doesn't have any dialogue, but it was really cool that Natalie Portman came back and filmed that little scene. Thor and Renee Russo, Thor's mum who died in Thor the Dark World, they have a reunion. She knows Thor's from the future and she gives him advice and stuff. And then he's like, and gets Mjolnir back. That was really cool to see Thor getting his hammer back. He takes it. He's like, mine now, my hammer got broke, I'm just taking it back to the future. And going back to celebrating the MCU, Rhodey and Nebula are on Morag, and Peter Quill shows up from Guardians of the Galaxy 1, and he's there dancing to Come and Get Your Love, and it pretty much recreates that scene, and Nebula just knocks him out and stops him from taking the orb from Guardians of the Galaxy 1. That was really awesome to see again. But this is the part of the film where I was like, oh my god, because after killing Thanos at the start, I was wondering what's going to be the physical threat of this film. But then 2014 Thanos, from about Guardians of the Galaxy 1 time, he sees that Nebula's having a bit of trouble with her cybernetic implants because there are two Nebulas there at once, and he manages to tap into past Nebula and see future Nebula's memories. He sees what happens with the snap and he sees them coming back to undo his snap, so that's Thanos' plan. Past Thanos is going to come and intercept them and stop them from undoing everything that he was destined to do, according to him at least. All the while, over on Vormir, Black Widow and Hawkeye meet up with the Red Skull, another great character cameo, and they find out they have to sacrifice something they love to get the Soul Stone, and they start kind of competing to see who gets to sacrifice themselves. It's eventually Black Widow, and that's when the throat starts knotting up, because you're like, Black Widow, first major death of the film. It's Hawkeye's reaction that really got me, when he's like looking over the cliff and he's all crying, and then he wakes up in the water like Thanos did, and he just starts breaking down. Like I said, emotional roller coaster. Doesn't stop there though. And meanwhile, back in New York in 2012, they kind of blew their chance to get the Tesseract because Loki escaped. So Steve and Tony decide to go to the 1970s to the base where Captain America was created to take the Tesseract from that time. And this was a really great sequence because Cap sees Peg again and he's really emotional. That was great. But Tony runs into Howard Stark, John Slattery popping up. And it was a really great scene because Tony, as we saw in Civil War, never got to say goodbye to his dad. So him talking to his dad and learning about what's going on with his dad then, his dad is currently expecting Tony pretty soon. And it was just a really great scene, Tony getting to say goodbye to his dad and really talking to his dad and getting on the same page as his dad. It was really emotional, and just in retrospect, after seeing the end of the film, it just hits you even more. It was a really well done scene. So all the Avengers return to the present day with their Infinity Stones, and they put it in this gauntlet that Iron Man makes. Hulk puts it on, starts to burn them all up, but he goes, snaps it, and then seemingly everything's fine. The birds start tweeting, everything's okay, but then all of a sudden, boom, Thanos arrives. He just came through the time machine because past Nebula went back as a spy in future Nebula's place. Thanos is here from the past. He just waylays to the Avengers headquarters. He's here and he means ultimate business. And this is where the film just turned into something completely different. Thanos comes and he first starts fighting Tony, Cap and Thor. And this was the first part of the finale where I started to freak out because Thanos has Thor pinned down. He's sticking Stormbreaker into his chest, but then you see Mjolnir rising, and right then I was like, no. Then you see Mjolnir hit Thanos, it flies back, and boom! Captain America catches it. And I was like, oh my god. Oh, just even thinking about it now just gets me so hyped. It is one of the greatest moments I've ever seen in a superhero film because it was teasing Age of Ultron where Captain America kind of budged it, but now he's got it. Captain America's worthy, and he just starts beating Thanos' ass. He's summoning the lightning because whoever picks up the hammer gets Thor's powers as well. Oh my god. Oh. Sorry, it's just, oh! But it doesn't work for very long because Thanos overpowers Captain America, and we get that really amazing shot where Captain America's by himself, and then you have Thanos and his entire army of Chitauri and Outriders in the Black Order all staring him down. Cap's about to stand anyway because he's Captain America, but then you hear something, and this gave me chills. You just hear, Cap, do you copy? And you're like, that's Falcon. That's Falcon. And just behind Captain America, you see shh. And the little Doctor Strange portal opens up. Black Panther walks out of there with Shuri and Okoye side by side. And you're like, oh my god. Then all the other portals start opening up. Everybody comes back. Spider-Man comes back. The Guardians are there. But not just that. All the Masters of the Mystic Arts are there. Wong, all the other sorcerers. The armies of Wakanda. Asgard. Everything's there. And this is just the greatest third act in the entire history of superhero films. It is the showdown to end all superhero showdowns. And then Captain America summons Mjolnir. Avengers, dun 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 dun, assemble, dun 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 dun, and then it, oh my, oh my god. And everyone charges into battle with that Avengers theme by Alan Silvestri behind it, and it's just a non-stop barrage of awesomeness, epicness, and just unmatched badassery. There is so much awesomeness packed into this finale that I had to kind of write down as much of them as I could remember, because I just had to mention some of them. Like Spider-Man comes in, really great scene where he finally meets Tony Stark again. He's like, oh, Tony Stark, I was dusted and we all woke up, and he's like blabbering on, just not stop talking, and Tony just hugs him. Oh my god, that just gave me immense feels. Tony runs into Doctor Strange and he's like, hey, out of the 40 million possibilities, is this the one where we won? And Doctor Strange is like, if I tell you what happens, it won't happen. And you're like, oh god, it's gonna happen, isn't it? More on that later though. But the battle just carries on, and the number one objective here is to get the gauntlet that the Avengers made to Luis's van, which is in the middle of the battlefield, so they can send it back in time so Thanos can't get it and snap their fingers. Because Thanos' new philosophy is, because he's seen the Avengers try to undo his actions, so he's like, okay, they're just not going to be grateful, so I need to wipe out the entire universe and reshape it in my image. So the stakes have just gone from incredibly high to gargantuanly high. He's trying to snap everything out of existence, everything. So they got to get that glove to Luis's van, put it in the quantum realm through time, take all the stones back. So Hawkeye is running with the thing. He throws it to Black Panther, who remembers Clint Barton's name from Civil War. Great throwback. He's running, he's absorbing all the energy, he's fighting everything off, and then he throws it to Spider-Man, who's swinging down, and he's like, activate kill mode. Great throwback to Homecoming. He starts killing all the Outriders, and then there's this big explosion. Thanos' ship starts firing into the sky, and you're like, wait, what are they firing at? Captain Marvel comes in, wipes out the ship in just one big massive flight. It all crashes down, all of explosions, and Peter Parker's on the floor. Captain Marvel stood there. He's like, hey, I'm Peter Parker. And Captain Marvel's like, hey, Peter Parker. And then we come to it. Thanos is fighting Captain Marvel. The glove is pretty much in his hands. Captain Marvel's trying to take it off him, and then he throws Captain Marvel aside. He puts the glove on, and this was so intense because every time he puts the glove on, he's just about to snap it. Something happens. Captain Marvel hits him, and then it happens. He's about to snap it. Nothing happens. Turns around. Tony Stark's got all the storms, and Thanos is like, I am inevitable. And Tony Stark is there with all the Infinity Stones. He's like, and I am Iron Man. All of Thanos' army crumbles to dust. Thanos himself crumbles to dust, but Tony is completely wrecked. He's all fried up. He falls against this debris. War Machine's there. Then Spider-Man comes up. He's like, hey, we won, Mr. Stark, we won. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Tony. And this is where you're like, oh my god, here come the waterworks. Pepper comes along, and she's there touching his face. He's like, it's okay, you can rest now. And oh my god, this is, that's the tears. The tears nearly came out of that part. They were just filling the eyes. Tony Stark, the thing turns off. Tony Stark dies. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's, I mean, in terms of cinematic sacrifices, one of the best. One of the absolute very best. And the funeral that happens afterwards, we see them back at the lakeside, and they send that thing off with the heart, which says proof that Tony Stark has a heart. And then we have one of the greatest shots in the entire history of the MCU. Every single possible character, every major character at least, is all there for Tony Stark's funeral. Obviously at the front you have Pepper Potts and the daughter Morgan, you have Rhodey, then you have Cap, then you have Peter Parker, then behind them you have Thor, Hulk, Doctor Strange, then you have Ant-Man, Hank Pym, Michelle Pfeiffer, Hawk, then you have the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then you have Hawkeye's family, and then you have like Scarlet Witch, Winter Soldier, Falcon together, you have Thunderbolt Ross, nice little appearance, you have the kid from Iron Man 3 who's been grown up a little bit. Didn't recognise him at first, I was like, who the hell is that guy? Then I looked at it later, I was like, oh my god, it's the kid from Iron Man 3, that was a great little cameo. Maria Hill, Captain Marvel, and the last person that comes into that shot, Nick Fury. Great full circle moment, because Nick Fury, of course, Tony Stark was the first person he came to for the Avengers Initiative, and the last person to show at Tony Stark's funeral, Nick Fury. It's just that symbolicness of that whole full circle moment was just amazing. And that shot where it's tracking through all the heroes, again, the tears just came back because of the weight of the moment of Tony Stark's funeral and everybody paying respect. But obviously just the shot as well, because you're seeing all those heroes and all those established MCU characters on the screen at the same time was just mind-blowing. It was an just unbelievable conclusion. But the feels did not stop there, because Captain America has decided to take the Infinity Stones and Mjolnir back in time to their rightful places in the timeline, but he doesn't come back like he's supposed to. They're all acting like, what the hell's going on? Then we see an old man sat by the lake, and it's Captain America. He went back in time and he lived his life with Peggy Carter. He walked away from the fight, and he was a guy who never fit into modern times, so he just went back to the time where he belonged and spent it with the woman he loved. And the final shot of the film, going back in time and seeing Peggy and Steve finally having that dance. Oh my god, the feels, man. It just, that's what I mean. This film was just so fulfilling, so satisfying on pretty much every level. Both Captain America and Iron Man's stories came to an end in this film in the best possible ways. I walked out of this film just emotionally overwhelmed by their story conclusions, and it's just a cinema experience that I'm not going to forget for a long time. And it bums me out that I'm not going to experience this film for the first time again, because again, that entire finale was just, oh my god, but also the ending, the emotion, the tears, amazing. And it's just an unbelievable culmination to the first 3 phases of the MCU. And like I said in my spoiler-free video, it's the end of an era, because no more Tony Stark, no more Iron Man, no more Captain America. Sam Wilson Captain America, but not Steve Rogers Captain America. I'm looking forward to where the MCU goes from here, but it's just, I'm gonna miss Iron Man, Captain America. It was a good run. It was a really good cinematic run, an unprecedented cinematic run, and this film is just a landmark of blockbuster filmmaking. It just succeeded in giving me every single emotion that I was hoping that it was going to give me. There you go. Those are my spoiler-filled thoughts on Avengers Endgame. If you stuck around this long, I commend you, because it's probably a very long video. I'm looking there, it's 33 minutes. I'm sorry for it being so long, but lots of stuff to talk about. So, now that this is a spoiler video, what did you guys think of Avengers Endgame full spoilers? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know down there, and if you want to see more of my stuff, click on one of these in a second, and I'll see you all next time.